Hello, my name is Marcello. Welcome to the Source AV Design Group's YouTube channel. Today we're going to look at the flagship Sony WM1ZM2 Walkman. This video will primarily discuss my impressions of the WM1ZM2 as seen with a gold-plated chassis and how it compares to the Sony WM1AM2 Walkman with the black chassis we recently created a video on. Priced at nearly $3,700, the Sony NW-WM1ZM2 Walkman is a top-of-the-line digital audio player designed for the discerning HiFi listener. In our previous video on the Sony WM1AM2, we delved into the Android 11 operating system, internal design, various features, and listening modes. If you still need to watch that video, I recommend doing so after watching this one. We covered many topics that won't be found in this video, as these two players are almost identical in most aspects. In this video, we will focus on how the two Walkmen are different and what headphones a listener may prefer from my collection with the flagship WM1ZM2 or the more affordable $1,400 WM1AM2. The first difference between the two players is the oxygen-free copper gold-plated chassis of the flagship WM1ZM2. The purity level of the OFC chassis is 99.99% pure according to Sony, which offers some advantages over the aluminum alloy chassis of the more affordable WM1AM2. One of these advantages is sound quality. With higher rigidity, the WM1ZM2 OFC gold-plated chassis aids in more clarity and a tighter sound than the warmer, more laid-back WM1AM2. Sony attributes the cleaner sounding bass regions, the blacker background, and better EMI rejection of the WM1ZM2 partly to this chassis compared to the aluminum chassis of the WM1AM2. However, one disadvantage of this chassis is the added weight of the WM1ZM2, which is around 490 grams, compared to the lighter weight of about 299 grams of the WM1AM2 Walkman. For my preferences, the WM1ZM2 with its more expensive price and added weight would be an at-home portable digital audio player or at work on a desktop. For traveling, walking, or any activities I would be moving around, I would opt for the more affordable WM1AM2 for its lighter weight and price. The second benefit of choosing the WM1ZM2 over the WM1AM2 is the use of Kimber cable wiring from the amp base to the balanced headphone jack, which helps eliminate external noise and, according to Sony, allows for higher quality audio transmission. As an owner of Kimber cables for one of my speaker rooms, I am a big fan of their cables, so adding this wiring inside the WM1ZM2 is fantastic. The third difference between the two players is the WM1ZM2's larger internal storage capacity, 256 gigabytes, compared to the WM1AM2's 128 gigabytes. However, this is less important if you use an internal memory card that both players can accept. Lastly, the flagship WM1ZM2 includes a leather case for the player. All other features and internals are identical, including the power output rating and internal digital S-Master HX amplifier. That's it. Those are the significant differences. And of course, the visual appearance of the WM1ZM2's gold-plated chassis, which I think many Sony Walkman lovers may dig simply for the visual gold luxury flex. So let's discuss how the two Walkmen differ from a sound perspective. I listen with several different headphones, including my flagship reference headphones, the Yamaha YH5000 SE, the Sony MDR-Z1R, the Meze Elite, the DCA E3, and the Sennheiser HD650 and 660S2. I chose to listen to both Walkmen with either the DSD mode active or with DSEE active and no EQ to really feel out the sound of each player. Of course, EQ users could surely play around with each player's built-in EQ and get each Walkman to sound vastly different from its stock sound. What I noticed immediately on listening to the Sony WM1ZM2 after several weeks of listening to the Sony WM1AM2 Walkman was how much more resolving the flagship WM1ZM2 sounds, presenting even more macro and micro details in the music. While I didn't notice any noise floor issues with the more affordable WM1AM2, the flagship WM1ZM2 has an even blacker background, which allows for better soundstage presentation, separation, and imaging. The second thing I noticed was that the bass frequencies sound tighter and better defined when listening to the flagship WM1ZM2 Walkman. I believe this will be a big plus, especially for more serious HiFi listeners looking for a more neutral sound presentation of the two devices. Ultimately, the more affordable WM1AM2 has a slightly more fun sound with a somewhat more relaxed overall sound presentation, whereas the flagship WM1ZM2 has a more high-fidelity sound presentation. If I were to guess how much more high-fidelity the flagship WM1ZM2 sounded over the WM1AM2, I would say around 10%. This is my subjective opinion, however, and you should listen to them both to see if you have a preference for your headphones or earphones. Many casual listeners will be unable to justify the WM1ZM2's higher price compared to the WM1AM2, as the untrained listener may not pick up on some of these subtle sound differences. However, suppose you have been in the HiFi hobby for a while and have been training your ears to pick up on sound differences. In that case, you should be able to hear how the sound signatures differ between the two digital audio players. As always, this will also come down to the headphone pairing. For instance, some listeners who take issue with the treble presentation of the Yamaha YH5000 SE headphones with the leather pads may prefer the smoother presentation of the more affordable WM1AM2. However, if switching to the other pads of the Yamaha YH5000 SE, many listeners may prefer the more hi-fi sounding flagship WM1ZM2 Walkman. The same could be said for the warmer leaning Meze Elite headphones. The gold-plated WM1ZM2 will bring a bit more fidelity and detail presentation to the Meze Elite headphones and help tighten up the Elite Space presentation compared to the WM1AM2. These subtle but meaningful differences in sound could be exactly what you are looking for to help better synergize the pairing. When listening to the Sony MDR-Z1R closeback headphones, the WM1ZM2 allows the headphones to sound a bit less bass emphasized than when listening with the WM1AM2. In addition, the soundstage presentation of the headphones sounds even more laser focused when it comes to imaging and separation. The DCA E3 closeback headphones have a neutral analytical sound. I prefer them paired with the smoother, more fun-sounding WM1AM2, which creates a slightly warmer pairing for those headphones. The headphones have a very detailed-sounding bass region, but lack overall bass quantity, so the warmer-sounding, more affordable WM1AM2 was more enjoyable for pure music listening for me when compared to the more expensive high-fidelity WM1ZM2. Lastly, the Sennheiser HD650 and 660S2 benefited in detail presentation and soundstage separation from the more high-fidelity flagship WM1ZM2 for my preferences. However, I still thoroughly enjoyed both headphones with the more affordable WM1AM2. So it will come down to your personal preferences regarding the type of sound you prefer, the headphones and earphone pairings you make, and your budget. Also, as you would expect, both players' sound was superior from the 4.4mm balanced output. So let's wrap up. Suppose you want a flagship portable digital audio player with a high-fidelity, engaging sound signature, abundant features, and superb build quality. In that case, the Sony WM1ZM2 Walkman is worth listening to at your local dealer or upcoming Can Jam to see if you enjoy it with your favorite headphones or earphones. If you're interested in trading up your old headphones, amplifiers, or other gently used audio gear for a new set of headphones or a new amplifier, check out the links in the video description to our trade-up program, and don't forget, we will price match other authorized dealers. We have some cool videos coming this year with new product announcements, so please consider subscribing to our channel today. From $150 earphones to multi-million-dollar home audio, cinema, and automation systems, TSAV is a hi-fi enthusiast paradise for building the system of your dreams. So let's start the conversations in the video comments on what you think of these two Sony Walkman. Do you have a preference? If so, why? While you're there, smash that like button for us. Until next time, friends, remember, let the music be your guide.